as I started as part of the presentation, I just continue from there. So as I mentioned, we have been now consulting for the last 15 years, and presently we are helping customers both on the rooftop solar or on-site solar, as well as you have STU, which is basically state transmission unit, wherein when the solar project is connected on open access and it is an intrastate power, then that is STU. And then you have CTU, which is connected on the interstate transmission system. So we are operating in all the three spheres, and then we are also operating in solar, wind solar hybrid, BESS, and virtual power. So basically, as I explained, 10% of the power comes from rooftop. Remaining power could come either from intrastate or ISTS. And then let's say once you achieve 80%, because as you are aware, solar and wind, by its very nature, because it is based on nature, right? That means solar will generate only in daytime, and predominantly solar generates between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. So which obviously means that if you have a constant load, solar cannot meet the total requirement on its own. Whereas wind, by its very nature, produces 50% of its power during monsoon, which is typically between June and September. So which obviously means that both solar and wind have pluses and minuses. So if you go for solar, then there is no power in the evenings. And if you go for wind, there is very little power in non-monsoon. So the combination of a solar and wind enables the customer to have power throughout the day and throughout the year as well. So going for the right combination will enable the customer to reduce maximum sustainability. And as I mentioned earlier, that we are focused only on the C&I space, which is for corporate clients, and we offer CAPEX, group captive, and third party. As of now, we have been so far successful in being involved in 900 megawatt of renewable projects. This year we are doing 200 megawatt of projects, and we operate in all the four zones, which is north, east, west, and south, in all major states. Little bit on our customer base, which we have so far executed renewable projects for these customers. I'm just quickly running you through, so that you can have a look of themselves. So these are some of our clients. So now the question is, how do we decide, or what are the major factors based on which you can decide what is the kind of renewable power that you need to go for? So the major factors are, one is what is known as the contract demand, which is the demand which you have signed up with the DISCOM, and what is your input voltage. So these two are very important factors. Then followed by what is your annual power consumption, and whether you have constant load or whether you have varying loads. So that will also determine the kind of power that you need to choose. Then you need to also look at what is the state regulatory mechanism, because every state has various policies, and those policies permit either use of solar, wind, or hybrid power, and those policies have to be taken into account to decide on what is the most optimal source of power that you can go for. Then as I said, there are also contract demand restrictions, because for example, every state, they do not allow you beyond your contract demand. So that means that because of restrictions, then you can only go for certain amount of capacity, which means that your target of 75% RE may not be achievable if you go for a certain type of power. And your DISCOM variable tariff and the various states also offer various subsidies. So many states, what they do is, once you switch over to open access power, then they withdraw the subsidy for the entire balance power which you will go for, source from the DISCOM. So we also have to keep in mind that also, that what is your overall cost matrix, that if you switch over and if the entire subsidy goes, then does it really benefit you or not has to also be evaluated. And as I earlier explained also, we also need to understand whether you are willing to invest 100%, whether you're willing to invest 7.8%, or whether you're willing to invest, not at all invest. So as I earlier explained also, any company which wants to achieve maximum saving, they have to always target to achieve maximum RE percentage. Because if you do not achieve maximum RE percentage, it could be possible that actually what you originally envisaged as saving actually may turn around to be much lesser. Because for, as I will explain as we go by in the next slide, that it is always not guaranteed that if you convert say 50% of your power to renewable, that you're actually saving significantly, because it could be possible that the remaining power which you buy from the DISCOM is so expensive that whatever saving you envisage for the portion of power which you convert will actually get nullified. So it has to be very, very clearly understood, and we have to be technology agnostic, because many times people go for a particular technology because they feel that there's comfort, but technology agnostic decision making is important, so that you look at holistically what is the most optimal solution to go for. MOP, Ministry of Power, issued a notification 2 years ago, since solar power is being purchased by most of the DISCOMs at a very low tariff. You must all be reading in newspapers that solar power has been signed at 2 rupee 50 paise tariff and so on. So DISCOMs are buying solar power during daytime at a very low tariff. But the problem is, you buy too much of power during daytime, then what about the power which you need in the evenings? So there is also an issue of grid stability as well. So to promote, or rather not customers not to go for too much of solar, now a lot of states have brought down the daytime tariffs, and that means the gap between daytime tariff and evening tariff is so high that if you go purely for solar and block your contract demand, that means your evening power will be so high that your net savings will be almost minuscule. So that is also very important. So, and if your plant is connected at EHV, that is 110 kV and above, then you also have an opportunity to go for ISTS power. Because ISTS power, when you go for, basically what happens is that you take a GNA, that is General Network Access. So General Network Access, what it envisages is that, let's say if I have to give you a 1 megawatt solar in the intrastate, then I can only put 1 megawatt solar. Or if I put 1 megawatt wind, I can only put 1 megawatt wind. Or if I do 1 megawatt hybrid, I can put 1 megawatt wind and maybe 1 megawatt solar. But in the case of a GNA, I may be able to even put 2 megawatt wind and 1 megawatt solar, and thereby generate more, and I am able to supply you power much more on a round the clock basis. And any excess power that I may generate out of a ISTS plant can then be sold by me in the exchange. So that is the kind of flexibility which this offers. So this is a comparison. As you can see here, you have intrastate solar, intrastate wind, intrastate hybrid, ISTS solar and ISTS hybrid. You can clearly see that ISTS hybrid is able to replace much more number of units compared to intrastate solar. So it is not straightforward that solar is going to give you savings. As I can show you in the next slide. Now, here was a customer who had a potential contract demand of 110 MVA, and he went for solar power, which was just costing him 2 rupee 90 paise per unit. And the customer felt actually he's hit a gold mine, because the landed power cost was considered to be cheap. But really, when we did the analysis and I showed to the customer that his net savings was only coming to 60 paise per unit on the annual basis. So, and his cost of equity was costing 50 paise. So overall, after doing all that investment, the only bottom line was he just made 10 paise per unit. So I can only say that going for renewable will give you sustainability and help you achieve your green power goals. But it is very important to be judicious in choosing the right combination of technology and connection of power, type of power, so that your annual power savings is achieved. So these are the various states where we are able to offer renewable power solutions. I am free at the end of the meeting, whenever in the evening or lunchtime we can discuss. This is my, I'll just quickly run this through. This is my email address and my mobile number. Thank you.